is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now.
Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it.
Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now.
Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, welcome everybody to the PWCC Weekly Hockey Auction live coverage. Today is Sunday, March the 5th, 2023. My name is Jeremy Lee. I would like to thank all subscribers, viewers, podcast listeners. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please take a moment and do so. Let's get to it, though. Let's bring out our co-host. Here he comes. Here he comes. There he is, Josh Madigan. What's going on? Welcome back. How have you been?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good. I'm ready to do this yet again. I have to warn you, though, Josh, I had some technical difficulties last night on Sports Cards Live. So if my internet fails me, you're going to have to carry the show. So I'll get back in here as soon as I can once I get that figured out. If it happens, I just wanted to let you know. You just never know what's going to happen here in the world of the interwebs. But with that, man, I mean, listen, we've got 222 hockey lots, hockey listings on the weekly ending today. We had 386 last week, so it's come back down a little bit from the week before. But we're still up from the week before that, which was 213. So I think we're in a good place. It'd be a little scary if the auction just kind of grew 150 hockey items week over week over week. I think it's good to have a more steady growth. But what do you think? Any sort of comments on kind of the amount of hockey we're seeing on these PWCC weeklies and where you think it might go in the future?
Well, I think people need to stop listing their Pokemon cards first and start listing more hockey cards, so we have more to talk about. But that seems all the rage lately. I don't know actually what to think of it, Jeremy. Is it part of me thinks that, well, hockey collectors just collect more than any other group or segment of the hobby, and we don't sell as much stuff. Or is it the hobby really this small? I don't think so. And one of the areas where I'll give PWCC a lot of props is, as you know, we follow sales very, very closely. We're kind of data people, and especially for vintage, PWCC kills it. So if you have a high-end vintage card, this is probably the place that you want to sell it. So I don't think it's a PWCC thing at all. I don't know. You've been in the hobby longer than I have, so you tell me, does it surprise you that there's this few hockey cards, or do you think it's just more collectors that don't like to sell their stuff as often? Well, what is the answer here?
You know what? I think the answer is I'm going to take the easy way out, and I'm going to say I think the answer really is that most of the hockey cards reside in Canada, and PWCC is an American company or a company based out of the US. I think that's probably one of the reasons why we see an inordinate low amount of hockey relative to basketball, baseball, football, Pokemon. I think that's maybe the biggest kind of barrier to there being more hockey on PWCC. So the fact that, during the premier auction, we get anywhere from, like 1 to 5 or 6 items on there out of a couple hundred is, it's just more evidence of that. But, let's face it, the U.S. is a big country, 10 times the population of Canada. There's I think we have 6 hockey teams up in Canada, 6 Canadian teams. Maybe it's 7. I'd have to count in my head, and like 25 in the U.S. So there's a lot of hockey fans down in the States. That's for sure. Yourself and Troy included. Troy's going to be joining us. We're bring on our first special guest onto the Hockey Weekly coverage that we've ever had, and that will be your partner in crime on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Podcast, Troy Iverson. Looking forward to having him join us in about an hour's time or so. But I think that's really what it comes down to, Josh, is Canada. Hockey is our national pastime. It's not baseball. And down in the U.S., it's baseball, not hockey. And now basketball and football have really had these meteoric rises as far as collecting goes relative to baseball. So I think that's what it comes down to. But like you also said, hockey collectors really are passionate, might be the most passionate collector group out there for the size that it is. And I don't want to compare us. Wrestling collectors seem to be extremely passionate as well. But as far as hockey collectors go in the big four sports, or the four major professional sports, I think that they're probably the most loyal collectors out there. Baseball will give us a run for our money, but basketball and football, I don't think will. So I think, like you said, maybe there's a bit of a apprehension for hockey collectors to sell their cards versus, basketball and football.
I think you had a really good answer, though, because you're right. All the hockey cards are in Canada. I can say that for certain, where Troy and I have collected our whole lives here in the state of hockey, where you would think there's good cards. And we've told the story before, but when we went to the expo last November, that's the first time we had ever seen a 1951 Parkhurst in person in our lives.
Yeah.
I assume if you grew up in the Toronto area and you were collecting sports cards, that's a ridiculous statement, but it is true. We have never, so there's no good cards here. So please send them to us. We'll take them.
Right. Exactly. Reminder to everybody, extended bidding starts in 24 minutes. You do not need to bid ahead of time to qualify. Extended bidding is now all access. That is now permanent. They've announced, PWCC has announced that is now permanent on all their auctions moving forward. So that's pretty exciting. You can bid whenever you want, but the impact of extended bidding now are those shorter bidding windows. If a bid doesn't come in the first half hour on an item, then that item is over. And then after a half hour, it goes down to 5-minute windows and then 1-minute windows after that. So we should see this auction ending, maybe a few minutes later than it otherwise would have with extended bidding. But from our experience, Josh, over the month of February, we didn't see too much of an impact on the length of the auction as far as the hockey cards go, because that's all we look at on this episode. But in any event, extended bidding will start in 23 minutes. So if anyone out there, if you are bidding on cards, if you are selling cards, let us know. We'd love to be aware, talk about them, and see if we can kind of help you make a decision or give you some opinions, that sort of thing. Happy to do that. Josh, do you have your eye on anything today?
I don't, but Troy has promised that while he's watching the first hour of our show here, that he's going to be an active bidder. So maybe we can get people to make him spend more money. That's always fun.
Okay, so let's make Troy spend more money. That's the goal for today. We have picked out about 25 or so of the hockey items available tonight that will be ending this evening that we're going to go through and look at, just like we did last week, Josh. I did listen to both of your podcasts this past week. Great job. And I added the cards that you and Troy did cover on the podcast to this bevy of cardboard beauty that we're about to look at. I'm going to share the screen right now and let everybody see what it is that we are looking at. When we do that, let's say hello to Jake Dahl. We got Eric in the house. What's going on, Eric? Jeff McMahon, Chuck Clement, and Mitch Grotman in the house. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. So this says 223 results. You may notice I've said that there's 222 hockey listings. I noticed there's a baseball card in the mix here tonight. I think it was just mislabeled by PWCC, or maybe flagged hockey. Should maybe it's also in the baseball search. I don't know, not sure. But we're going to focus on the 222 hockey items. We'll just breeze by a baseball item if we see it. But let's jump in and let's start looking at these cards. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Here we go, guys. We're going to start with the 1951 Parkhurst Maurice Richard rookie card. This is an SGC 7.5, and it has been given the Exceptional Eye Appeal Award by PWCC, meaning the top 15% of SGC 7.5s that have crossed their desks. Now, I'm going to start off by saying I love the Maurice Richard rookie card. It to me is the second most important, but it's not very far away from the Gordie Howe from the same set. To me, they're like a pair. You want to put together a beautiful pairing of cards, you grab a 51 Parkhurst Gordie and a 51 Parkhurst Maurice Richard, and you have kind of the two best cards by quite some gap from number 3, which would be the Terry Sawchuk rookie, a great card as well. But to me, Howe and Richard are far and away the best cards in the set. This is a pretty nice copy overall. I looked at it closely, and let's do that actually, Josh. I'm gonna open up the image itself, and let's take a little bit of a zoom. And here's what I look for when I inspect this card, everybody. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in this way. There we go. So what I look for is, first of all, this black background above the boards. Is it black? Is it solid black? This one, beautiful, beautiful, solid black. The red seems to pop. The blue is popping. Looks like a really nice copy overall. I did notice that if you look at the top border, it's a little bit narrower here than it is over here. Not a lot, but there is I don't know if I want to call it tilt, or it was probably actually just a bit of a minor, I'm going to use the term miscut, but it's not an offensive miscut. But I do think that this border, it seems to be angling up a little bit. So, keep that in mind. Or it's a little bit diamond cut, because when you look down here, it's also seems to look like it angles up a little bit. However, the two side borders seem to be, from where I'm looking, pretty much perfectly vertical. So tough to tell exactly, but hey, PWCC's given it the Exceptional Eye Appeal Award. SGC gave it a 7.5 back in their old days. And you know what? Pretty nice copy overall. Josh, what do you think of this card? I know it's one you had your eye on.
Yeah, we really love the Rocket Richard 51 Parkhurst. And I'm a little nervous to say this, I'll admit, because we're trying to come to Canada next month, and I'm not sure I'll be able to get in. But I think Troy and I like this better than the Gordie Howe. Is that bad?
Well, no. Hey, first of all, the Gordie Howe played his whole career in the U.S. and Maurice played his whole career in Canada. So I don't think that's bad. It's we us Canadians would probably like that, but we love Gordie as well. But I gotta ask, why? What do you like about it? Yeah, just please, why?
I just like I think it's the photo of the card a little bit better. The colors, I think, pop a little bit more. I don't know. It just seems deeper than and richer than some of the Gordie Howes that I've seen. No, I'm not gonna. You want to give me a Gordie Howe? You can. I'm not gonna turn it away or anything like that. But I don't know. I just, and to me, hockey cards are so goals driven. Of course, Gordie Howe had a lot of goals, but Rocket Richard, right? That's the synonymous with goals as well. I don't know. Maybe it's a little just a zig when others zag, but I like this card better.
You know what I was thinking? You said it looks almost deeper or something, I think you said. So I just pulled up a picture of a Gordie Howe rookie. And there's a fundamental difference between the two cards that I've never specifically noticed until you mentioned it right now. And if you look at the Gordie Howe on my phone here, you'll notice there's nothing in the background. It's just kind of, I don't know, not there. Whereas on the Maurice Richard, you've got the dark, the black background where there would be glass in today's game or the crowd. And then you've got what look like rink boards, and you even have an ice surface. Whereas in the Gordie, you've got nothing. It's just Gordie standing a silhouette against a nothing background. Maybe that's why, Josh. Does that shed any kind of light on perhaps why you like it better?
I think so, because there's more depth to it.
Yeah.
There's something too. I like Rocket Richard's. This is going to make me sound like crazy, but gloves better than in the Gordie Howe. There's something to me about Howe's gloves that always, I don't know. They just seem kind of weird to me. But again, I like the Gordie Howe too. Just if I got to choose which one, I would probably pick the Rocket Richard.
Yeah. Well, hey, fair. And I think it's an underappreciated card overall, because it does seem like Gordie gets most of the love in terms of these cards. But here we go. It's at $9,250 right now. And, this is a fine copy for somebody who's looking to add. I mean, if this was in a PSA holder, I think it would be a lot more than $9,250 right now. But again, buy the card, not so much the grade or the holder. Buy the card. I am a fan of PWCC's Eye Appeal Awards because there is not all 7s are the same. Not all 7.5s are the same. So they've seen a lot of copies of cards. So that's something I think is worth kind of looking at when you are purchasing a card. And if no one in the chat has any comments or questions about this, Josh, at the beginning of the show, Eric came on and he said, I love this guy. He's talking about you. He says, God bless him, but now doesn't like you so much after the Gordy card comment. So you've lost Eric's love, but hey, I know Eric's easy to win back. Eric's easy.
He liked me for a time, and I can live with that. I do have one more thing I want to add about this card that is interesting to me. So this exact card, the exact one, same serial number, sold last March in the PWCC Weekly for $21,000 US.
Wow.
So there's a pretty big buying opportunity right now for this card.
$21,000 a year ago, and now it's at under 10 grand. Well, it's over 10 with buyer's premium. It's about 11, but it's a bit over 11 actually. But it's half of what it sold for a year ago. The consignor of this card is probably sitting here hoping that he gets some more he or she gets some more bids on it. But I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. We'll keep our eyes on it. Let's move along. Before we do, Collector's Dream, good evening. Thank you for joining. And look at that. Since I last woke up this page, the Tim Horton PSA 8 rookie received a bid. It's at $8,750. I love the card, Josh. I love the Tim Horton rookie. I own this card in this grade. I'm a huge fan of it. I believe that it has sold for quite a bit more. I think it's sold close to $20,000 in the past in PSA 8. I don't know about this copy here. This is population 1 of 14. So 14 8s, 7 have been graded higher in history, according to what PWCC is telling us here today. If you got to know, Tim Hortons is synonymous with Canada, synonymous with coffee in Canada, and synonymous with hockey cards in Canada as well. I like the background on it. You'll also note that his 53 Parkhurst card, his second-year card, uses the same image of him, but blown way up, which is a nice, cool pair to put together if anyone's interested in doing that. I believe there is a PSA 8 of that copy available tonight too. It might be right over here. Do I have it up? There it is. So there's the PSA 8 of the 53. So if you look at the picture of him here on the 53, then you look back here, you notice it's the same image, just portrayed differently. Josh, 52 Parkhurst, Tim Horton. You know I love this card. I talked about it on the masterclass on your channel, on your site. What do you think about this card? And what do you have to add?
Oh, I think it's pretty awesome. It's a great action shot. I love the crowd in the background. Of course, an iconic player. One thing I can add, and I'll verify in a minute through the PSA website, but at least on Card Ladder, a PSA 8, the all-time high is showing for me as $10,500 US.
Okay.
So with buyer's premium, we're probably pretty close to that right now. But so we could have a record tonight with this card.
And you know what? I just took a look at my personal copy of it, which is also an 8. And this one here, I'm going to open it up for a moment. This copy is definitely a better centered card than mine. Mine has richer colors, which I do like, but I do love the centering on this copy here. I'm just going to unshare the screen just to show you guys. Well, actually, I'll put it up beside. So if you can see this is my personal copy. I don't know if you can tell, but the blue jersey and hockey pants he's wearing, a richer blue than the copy offered by PWCC today. However, centering better on that copy there, better on the copy on PWCC. So definitely something to consider. And I mean, this is a very nice example. It's a tough card to find centered in any grade. I'm noticing as well, when I mentioned the color, if you look at my copy again in this corner here, you notice that there's not really any wear on the color, whereas on the copy available, you've got a bit of, I don't know if that's wear or just light ink light printing on the card. But overall, this is I mean, that centering is top to bottom. It's off a little bit, but I don't notice that as much. The side to side, this thing is just beautiful. Absolutely.
Is there a big difference in 1951 card to card in the depth of color or the contrast of color? Is that a common thing that you have to look out for?
It's common with 51s, for sure. With 52s.
52s. Yeah. Sorry.
52s. I haven't noticed it really until right now, to be honest. Okay. I haven't noticed it as much. So, but when I looked at this Horton card before comparing it to mine, I didn't notice that there was maybe any sort of light print going on. I just thought it was a very nice example at just that. I mean, that centering is it's wonderful. You just don't see them like that. So I really like it. Okay, let's go to a couple comments here. We got more people in. Toilet is back. What's going on? Toilet says, I often see SGC slabs of 51, 52 Parkers that appear in really good shape but are only graded A authentic. I always wonder if they're trimmed. Does SGC authenticate altered cards like that? I think SGC will do the same thing that PSA does and just slab it and call them authentic. But I don't want to verify. I'm going to say I'm not 100% certain on that. Josh, can you shed any light? Do you know how that goes?
I do not. No, sorry.
Mike Double V says, love the old Parkies. 52 and 53 cards are almost identical. I always get them mixed up. Well, size-wise, Mike, 52s are smaller. That's the easy way not to. Eric wants to know, does the card come with a dozen donuts? I think you could probably convince someone at PWCC to throw in a dozen donuts or maybe an extra large double-double. Speaking of which, I had my very first extra large double-double of the year today when I went to meet some people at a Tim Hortons to give them some advice on their hockey cards.
What's a double-double?
Right. What's a double-double?
Yeah.
It's double cream, double sugar.
Okay.
That's what it is. That's the Tim Hortons lingo. So this next card, this one's really interesting because it's not a card that was ever on my radar. I believe it's a third-year Lumley. He's got his rookie in the 51. I love the image. I love the card. It looks like it could be a wall hanger. It looks like just a beautiful piece of art here. It wasn't a card that I had favorited, but then I heard the Hockey Cards Gongshow, and I believe Troy picked out this card, wanted to talk about it. I'm glad he did. It brings our attention to it tonight. When I brought it up earlier today, when I kind of set up this browser with all these tabs, this card was at like $1,800, 18 and a quarter, something like that. And then when I woke up all these pages just before we went live, I saw it zip up to 4,600. And I thought, wow, first of all, good call by Troy. Thanks to the Gong Show for addressing the card on their pod. And what a beautiful card. It's got the eye appeal rating of above average. So top 30%. That's the A designation right there. It's a PSA 8. It's a beautiful card. Beautiful card. Josh, you guys talked about it. What would you like to say?
We didn't know much about Lumley, so I'm kind of talking for Troy here because this was his pick, but just going off of his notes and me listening to the show too, being there is, just finding cards where you have players in kind of weird or funny poses where he's doing sort of the stack pad save. And what's great to me a lot about cards, and especially for us that we're more learners on the vintage side, is we see cards like this where you have a totally unique picture. It looks like he's making the save. And then we go in and learn about the player and find out that he's a Hall of Famer, right? Won a Stanley Cup. Personally, I love the maple leaf on the jersey there. I don't know. That really kind of is a focal point. I think his facial expression is kind of funny too. But I don't know. I just, for all quirky and weird reasons, just love this card.
The centering is beautiful. The color of the stock is like exactly how you want it. It's not too bright. There's minimal staining. Edges look great. Corners look really good. This corner up here isn't perfect just from this magnification, but I'm with you. I noticed the emblem on the jersey, But the face, I love the look. He's got his tongue half out. It's almost like, shoot, is that puck going to come hit me in the face or what? There's no helmet back in these days, guys. No helmets, no goalie masks. These guys took pucks to the face on the regular. I don't know if they're absolute warriors or if they were just missing a few screws. I don't know what it took to get out there and do that. But this is a beautiful card that was not on my radar in the least, but now it is, because I'm not in the market for a high-grade PSA 8, but I would definitely like to pick up a nice PSA 6 in that grade area at some point in time. So thanks to the Gong Show for probably costing me some money one day, but for, again, highlighting what is a beautiful card.
My favorite fun fact about him that Troy found is he's the youngest goalie to ever play in an NHL game at 17 years old.
Yeah, that's nuts. Absolutely nuts. All right. Well, thanks for the fun fact, guys. Eric here says action shots back then are rare and really should be seen as a premium. Usually the players are just posing for the photographer. Yeah, that's pretty much true. Mitch says Harry Lumley, in my opinion, overrated. Redesigned his pads, though, to make pucks deflect down onto the ice instead of back out to opponents for rebounds. Pretty innovative. There we go. Thanks for that, Mitch. And David G lets us know that it's #1 in the set. Always tough to get in good grade also. Yeah, exactly right. And simply because back in those days, kids wrapped their cards in elastics with the top card, with the #1 card on top. So definitely true. Beautiful card. I got to think this is going to be a record for the card, if not close to it. I don't know what the pop is in terms of 9s or even 10s. Do you have that data handy by chance, Josh?
I do. So this is a PSA 8 and it's a pop of 15. There's only one card graded higher than this. The last sale in January of 2022, so a little more than a year ago, for the PSA 8 was $4,440 US. So we're already ahead of that. The top sale, though, is a COVID era sale. It was in April of 2021. Again, for a PSA 8, sold for $6,170 US. So we're a little ways away from an all-time high.
And I wonder how that one looked compared to this one, which does have an eye appeal award. So interesting. Yeah. But we will continue to watch this one as the night progresses. Let's go on to the next card, which I touched on a little bit earlier, the 53 Parkhurst, the second-year Tim Horton, a card that I love. I believe it was within the last couple of weeks doing the show, I was bidding on one of these cards. This one, I'm not going to put a bid in on the centering left to right. I'll just wait for a better centered copy of it. But if you, as I scan the card, I just love the card. I love the image. It's just so awesome. And, if you are somebody who centering is not the end all be all, which it shouldn't be for everybody, but it is for many. If you can get your head around, this card not being perfectly centered, I think it's like the edges, the corners look pretty perfect to me from here. I could zoom in a bit more and have a bit of a better look without getting too crazy. But yeah, I mean, this thing, colors look nice and vibrant. The border looks to be really nice. It seems to have a little bit of tanning going on right down on this corner here. I don't see it as much over here. That could just be a function of light over the years. This is not a pack-pulled autograph, everybody, nor was this an in-person. It's just a facsimile. I know everybody watching probably knows that, but I'll just point that out anyway. But overall, I love the card. The centering keeps it from something I'm not interested in for myself, but you're probably going to pay less for this one than you would for one that is perfectly centered. $1,400 now. I think the one a couple weeks ago did closer to or did a bit over 2,000. I think. So, any comments on this one, Josh? Even though we kind of touched it before.
$1,560 was the sale a couple weeks ago in the PWCC Weekly.
Got it. Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I tend to like the 52 a little bit better, just from a card aesthetic perspective. But
this guy right here. So yeah, I love the 52, Josh, but the 53, it's bigger too, right? And I just love how it's it's a full-size card and you get the same image. To me, they're a pair. I would take the 52 first, but the 53 is nice as well for sure. And it looks like we came over here. It's at 87.50. What this got a bid since we last looked at it, went from 46 to 4,700. This, there we go. We'll move on to the next card now, which I pulled this one out to look at because, again, this is a third-year Doug Harvey. Doug Harvey is one of the key rookie cards from the 51 Parker set. So it's his third-year card. You know, it's his first full-size card. It's another one, Josh, I've become really, and I've talked about it on shows and on Instagram, I'm becoming so much more of a potential buyer of non-rookie cards of Hall of Famers that are beautiful, where the image is beautiful, the card presents well. Like Doug Harvey he's a Hall of Famer. He's a defenseman. He was basically Bobby Orr before Bobby Orr came along and kind of took it to the next level. Yeah, I think it's just an amazing card. I think it's gorgeous. Do you think it's beautiful, or is it just me?
No, I totally love it. I just have no idea who he is. Is that bad?
Well, it's bad. No, what's good is that you don't pretend to know things you don't. But is it bad? No, what I love about what you guys do is that you are learning with your audience in a lot of ways, but you also put in the legwork and do the research. So you're actively learning. You're not just sitting back and taking in lectures. You guys are out there. You're grinding the learn. I don't know if that's a term or not, but I just use it. So
I'll take it.
I'm trying to say it's not bad, but he's somebody you should be aware of by now. Sure. So research him. You'll come to be impressed. And I just think it's a gorgeous card. Absolutely. And look, it's off center a bit to the left, similar to the Horton we looked at from the year, but seems to have a bit of a registration issue. And I say that because looks like this blue up here is a little bit, I don't know if that's meant to be there, that strip of kind of blue coming across the top of the card. It's got some border coloring, this little thing right here. I don't know if that's, just pulp of the paper coming through or some sort of, aging of the stock. It could be that as well. You've got a bunch of these little dots on here. I don't think those are they may be natural, but I don't think they're like intended to be there. Sure. So that might throw a few people off, but corners, borders are, wonderful. His face is a little bit blurry to me. I think that's got to do with this blue strip up here. So one of the play, and also you see this kind of blurriness right above his shoulder. So there is a registration issue with the card, which I didn't even notice when I looked at it, at this level until I zoomed in. But hey, it's still a great copy for $370. And I don't know how that ranks versus other copies because I haven't studied the card. I just think it's a beautiful piece of art, if nothing else. Anything you'd like to add, Josh?
I just have a question that I've noticed in the Parkies that we've looked at so far. In all the paintings, the skate laces are yellow. Is that just to make them stand out, or did hockey players really have yellow skate laces back then?
I don't know the answer to that, actually, but I like the observation. Maybe someone in the chat can help us out with that. Before we go on, couple comments. Mitch thinks it's a beautiful card. Says Doug Harvey, top 3 defenseman of all time. So there you go, Josh. I mean, really, he was. It's hard to say the Bobby Orr before Bobby came around, but he was like the best defenseman until Bobby Orr came around. Then you got Bobby Orr, and then after Bobby Orr, I'm going to guess Mitch's top 3. The third is either like Lidstrom or Bork or Coffey or something like that. Not 100% certain who Mitch would go with. HCP, the locker room, get to catch you all live. Good to see you here. Thank you for being here. And Tom Harrison says, Jeremy, when do you ever sleep? It seems like you've been on YouTube for 24 hours. Yeah, 2 shows today. And I think I did 2 shows yesterday as well. We did a late show last night. So yeah, Mitch says that Doug Harvey has 7 Norris trophies. And T-Dot says some of the laces were waxed. There you go.
Sure.
Name, what's going on? Name from Indigenous Rookie Cards is with us. And T-Dot says, so they didn't move as much, the laces. That's why they waxed them. All right, let's go to the next card and see what we have. I don't even remember what it is. It is from the same set. Guys, I love this 53 Parker set. I don't know. That's really all I can say. The 53 Terry Sawchuk. I mean, oh man, what a beautiful card. Let's blow it up a little bit. $380. Like that's not expensive for such a beautiful card. At least in my opinion, seems to be something going on in the bottom left corner here. What is this? Yeah, seems to be some staining almost. This corner has some, it almost looks like it might have had some water damage at some point that dried. That's what that looks like to me. I'm kind of tracing at what I see as the outline on it. I mean, that right there is enough for me to pass on the card altogether personally, but I'm gonna just talk about the card outside of that. Centering side to side centering. It's a little bit wider over here than over here, but not too bad. Top to bottom, it's sitting low. So this image is sitting low and to the right, like that way a little bit overall. I love the pose. I love the image. I'm not sure if it has a registration issue. It does seem to be a tad blurry, but not too bad. It's almost as if the yellow plate was set down a little bit to the left. You see, and why I say that is you can see this yellow coming off his face here. I know I'm picky with registration, guys, but it's my number one thing. And then you see the yellow coming to the left of the red over here. You see it over here as well. So listen, you don't have to nitpick like I do. I think this is a bigger concern, the lower left corner. This card graded out, I believe it's a 7. I mean, I'm actually surprised it graded that high with I believe this is a stain. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe that is meant to be there and all the copies have it. I don't think that's the case. I think it's like, I don't think I would have graded it that high because of that. It's a definite eye, it's going to take away from the overall eye appeal. I think for me now, my eyes go right down to this bottom left corner. All that said though, listen, I don't want to kind of, be negative about the card completely just based on that, because some people that won't bother. And if you're that person, then overall it's a decent card. The back is interesting. It's darker than what I'm used to, and it gets darker as you go down. Maybe that's sign of like this corner here is where you have that stain on the front. So maybe it is a water damage thing or something else. I'm not sure. If anyone out there watching kind of knows what might have happened to this card or what you think the impact is or what left it to be impacted this way, let us know. Even if you just have some guesses, because I'm curious now. What do you think, Josh? Any comments on it?
I think it's a real cool card in general. So if you go back to the action shot and the stick there with the puck on it right near the bottom, and look at the angle of Sawchuk's stick, he's taking this puck in the face, right?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, you're right. It's going to go from here onto here and then boom, right up into his face. That's like a pinball shot almost.
They should have had like a parallel after the puck hit him in the face and knocked all his teeth out. So, but I don't think parallels were a thing back then.
I don't think they were a thing back then either. I'm going to close those down. We'll leave it at that. Well, hold on. Mitch has a comment here. Mitch says, looked at a few other copies. They don't seem to have that stain. Possibly happened post grading. That's interesting. Maybe there was some condensation that somehow got inside this slab at some point in time. These things are sonically sealed. They're meant to be waterproof. I don't, some slabs are easy. You can pop open easier than others. So it's definitely, I think it's definitely a possibility, Mitch. Not sure, but I like the call out. I'm glad you mentioned it, because if that's the case, then I don't want to say that it's overgraded by the grading company. But despite all that, $380. I mean, I don't know what a nice 6 goes for. That would be something I would look at just to get an idea. Tom Harrison says, Jeremy, I'm sure you're coming to the expo in Sherwood Park, but will tag grading be there as well? Tom, I will definitely be there. And I don't know. I don't think tag, we're going to have a full team like we will at the Toronto show, but I'll definitely be up there representing tag as well as my own booth, and look forward to seeing you there. LGC makes the comment, you want to see bad registration, look at the Opeachy Gretzky PSA 8. Yeah, we've seen this card several times on the auction on PWCC. I think this card gets recycled every couple of months. here. I don't think there's been a happy buyer of that card, so they keep on relisting it. But we'll take a look at it because I know the card well. I feel like I've analyzed it a dozen times by now. T-Dot says it's a moisture issue. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought too, T-Dot. T-Dot, Terry Sawchuk suffered some of the worst facial injuries as a goalie. I think he had something like 80 pucks to the face over his career, something crazy like that. And Hockey Cards Plus, welcome, says, crazy thinking of them playing without goalie masks. It really, really is. And Jake Dahl says, in my opinion, Jerry Cheevers had the best goalie mask with the stitches. Yeah, no doubt about that. He did. If anyone hasn't seen the Jerry Cheevers goalie mask, go take a look at it. All right, Josh, let's move to the next card. Ken Dryden. Talking about goalies. Ken Dryden. This is a special card, and I haven't zoomed in on it yet. But based on the grade, it's a PSA Mint 9. Based on PWCC giving it their top eye appeal award, being the superior, the S, top 5%. I mean, that's rarefied air right here. Let's take a look at the card. Let's take a look at this card and see if I agree with the S rating. And I do own a copy of this myself, also in a PSA 9 holder. And so I've got a bit of familiarity. Overall looks good to me. I noticed a couple things though. First of all, the image, the print quality looks to be almost perfect. Some minor print defects, a little fisheye right there, which is very faint. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about that. A little bit of white on the top of the D there. Wouldn't bother me. Like, these are things that I would happily own this card. Top edge corners look wonderful. Right edge looks wonderful to me. Bottom right corner, perfect. Bottom edge, exactly what you want to see. Left edge has that O-Pee-Chee rough cut. I'm okay with it. Doesn't bother me at all. But just note, if it bothers you, you can see a bit of fray coming off the left edge here. You see a nice chunk of it. And I like this. You see that chunk of it right there? I don't mind that at all. The one thing I mentioned that I do notice, and it's minor, and it doesn't say it doesn't qualify as a 9, or even with the superior eye appeal rating. This border here is just a tad narrower than this border here. I don't know if I don't think it's worse than 55-45. It's probably a little bit better than that, but just to be fully descriptive of the card, I'm noticing that. I think we should take a quick look at the back, and then Josh, I want to get your thoughts on this card and hear what any of you guys have to say. But the back of this card, yeah, you can see the rough cut over here. Again, not something that I penalize O-Pee-Chee cards for. Yeah, back looks really nice to me. You can see fibers in the card stock. I never mind when I see that. I like it actually, because you can tell that that's just natural, though not like what I noticed on the Doug Harvey 53 earlier. So this card, 4,200, 4,400 now. Josh, what do you think of this card?
It's awesome. It's from my favorite set of all time. Love 71 O-Pee-Chee. I like you. I kind of like the wire cut sort of frayed edge. To me, that doesn't bother me at all. Just a couple kind of facts and figures on the card. At PSA 9, it's a pop of 62. There's 11 PSA 10s. And then from a sales perspective, the all-time high for a PSA 9 was in February of 2021 at 6,600 US. Last sale looks like it was at the PWCC Weekly last month for $39.60. So we're already pretty far above that.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to see this one get more bids simply because of the superior eye appeal rating, and it is a gorgeous copy of the card. So I won't be surprised to see this go for. I mean, hey, it could stop here, but if this went for $7 or $8 I wouldn't really be that surprised. That would be, I think, normal to me. I want to. Tom Harrison says there's a famous photo of Terry Sawchuk with the scars. So I'm just going to show you. That's the photo right there. I actually featured it in a reel I did a couple months ago. So
crazy.
There it is. You can see it on my Instagram. T-Dot says this is one of the most iconic goalie cards. Yep, I agree with that on the Ken Dryden. Eric says Jerry's is legendary, but my favorite is Steve Shields. Jake Dahl says I had to look up the Sawchuk photo after T-Dot mentioned the scars. Yeah, he is a warrior for sure. For sure. Hockey Card Plus, I have a VHS tape about years ago with Ken Dryden hosting NHL bloopers and practical jokes from the 80s. T-Dot says card looks slightly discolored on the back. I think it's just I honestly think it's just the stock, like that sheet of cardboard that was used. Says seems like it goes lighter from left to right. I'm not seeing that. Great card, says Hockey Cards Plus. I definitely agree with that. All right, let's close these extra windows down so we can manage this and go to the next card, which is from the same series, the Guy Lafleur rookie card. This is a PSA 7, so not an 8 or a 9, not super high grade, but it does have the superior eye appeal rating, top 5%. I love the Guy Lafleur rookie. It's a card that I coveted since 1986 or 1987. I always wanted one. I bought my first copy off of Joe Daly in Winnipeg when he was in his St. James location. If anyone who knows Winnipeg or has been there knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is a nice copy. I mean, a couple of minor print defects there, right there, the top of the blue oval. I don't consider those bothersome. They're defects, but they're not deal breakers for me. Side to side centering, I think it's perfect. Top to bottom, maybe it's sitting a little low on the cardboard canvas. Let me just get the whole thing in view. I think it's sitting a little bit low, which is probably maybe why it's not graded higher. But as far as a 7 goes, this thing is beautiful. The focus is there. Definitely. Take a quick look at the back. Let's see. Yeah. Tilt off-centered on the back with some counterclockwise tilt. But again, it's a 7, so I'm not too concerned about it. I think it's fair. I think it's a really nice copy, and I can't say I disagree with the PWCC Eye Appeal Award of Superior for a 7. I've seen way worse 7, so I really like this card, and I want to hear what you have to say about Guy Lafleur, Josh, and this card perhaps in specifically as well.
Who is he? Just kidding.
I know I know
Guy Lafleur is. It's one of my favorite cards. It might be my favorite hockey card of all time. Love this card. I love it. I love the mutton chops. I love the set design from 71. To me, it's the top card, probably like most in the set. This is a really nice 7. So one thing I just noticed that I hadn't before, take a really good look at Guy, right, with his mutton chops and everything, and go back to Ken Dryden. It looks like Ken Dryden was painted, and that looks like a photo.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that is a painting. It does look like a painting,
doesn't it?
Is it though? I don't know what that is. If that was a photo or a painting, I don't think it would have been a painting. But
yeah, but the photo quality then is so much different and so much crisper with Guy.
Oh yeah,
in that.
Well, it's also it could be the mask. Maybe they did some airbrushing on the hair or something, because we can't really see his face. And then you look at the eyes, and I mean, now we're getting in and we're seeing the print dots already. So it's tough to say, but that's something I've never considered, never thought about before. But hey, interesting observation. And we'll have to, maybe somebody knows. What does Mitch say? He says, I always thought it was funny that they put a space in Guy's last name on that card. Yeah. That's something I noticed that as well. Yeah, Lafleur, Guy the Flower. That's what that means. All right, well, let's go on then. This is the card that we were talking about a few minutes ago. So let's open this one up and take what feels like the 10th or 12th look at this card. But it's in the PSA 8 holder, near mint, and when we talk about registration issues, this card is a great case study in terms of looking at what is an example of a Gretzky rookie that has registration issues. And the first place we look is really to the word Oilers. And how does it line up with the word Edmonton? Well, you can easily see that it kind of takes a step down. It's not on the same plane as the word Edmonton. And it's also reflected on the oil drop down here as it sits down and to the right. It's not a perfectly placed oil drop. It's not centered in the pocket here, the blue pocket. You also can notice that, I'm just going to zoom in as I did, his face, it's blurry. You can find much clearer versions of his face. So look at this blue shadow coming off the right of his face. You see it over here as well. You see it over here. You shouldn't see this blue right here. And, you know, even the 99 on the arm is blurry. You see this, what I'll call magenta, probably some magenta. It's almost like the magenta and the yellow plates were both placed. Maybe they were placed in alignment to the right, because you see this nice solid orange line coming down, which shouldn't be there. This should be solid white between the two black borders. And you see it coming right down to there. You see more of that over here. You see some red or orange over here. You see it over here. You see it over here. So, and you also see it along his legs. There should be white. It should be like his shin pads and then white being the ice, not this orange stripe coming down both of his legs. So I really don't like this copy at all. I don't know if that's been made clear or not, but I'm just going to say it really just directly. I don't like this card. I think it's overgraded. Even the black borders here, they have some just printing issues. They're not as dark and solid as I'd like them to be. The bottom right corner is also not 8 worthy. Not 8 worthy for me either. It's there seems to be, I can't zoom anymore, but there seems to be some, not just on the corner, but also into the corner surface a little bit, some flaws as we come up. I mean, top edge looks pretty nice. This corner doesn't bother me, even though it's showing a touch of white. This corner's got a touch of white. That does bother me as for the grade. Left edge looks really nice to me. Bottom left corner looks pretty good, but not perfect. The centering, though, like, listen, let's call out the good. I think I've kind of criticized this card, but look at the centering. The centering is like bang on. The centering, is it bang on? Maybe it's a tad to the right, but it's like from a distance, this card presents pretty nicely. What catches my eye, though, is the blurriness and the letter T here. I want to show you the T again, guys. This, like, it's almost this print defect here with that break in the T. I would not be able to get over that. Like, if this was my copy, this would bother me to no end. So, this is it's a PSA 8. I have no problem telling you guys that this is overgraded. There's no doubt about it. This would not be an 8 today. I don't think. It might be a very strong 7. Might even get a PWCC Eye Appeal award if it was a 7. But as an 8, this is about as weak of an 8 as I've ever seen. And I just don't recommend this card. And I don't think the PWCC customer base likes it either. Oh, it has the above average. Yeah, I cannot. I think PWCC missed the boat on this. I think they should reassess. It's probably too late, but yeah, this I just don't recommend this card personally. I wouldn't be happy with it, but if you are, hey, all the power to you. Josh, what do you think?
Well, that was a great edgy. Can you zoom in, and I want to see the logo on the Oilers jersey there again, just to the zoomed in. So do you remember going to 3D movies and you had to wear those stupid glasses with the red and blue? And then at some point in every movie, you took them off to see what the screen looked like. That's what the screen looked like. Isn't it? Where it's like everything is, all the colors are wonky. And for me, this card, the teardrop on his jersey is where it loses me totally. And then the other thing I'm thinking about is we just looked at a 71 Guy Lafleur PSA 7 that from a condition perspective, it's not even close to this 8.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I'm actually really surprised. Listen, the centering is what is its strong point. It is actually pretty nice from here. And unfortunately, I don't think the hobby and the grading companies give registration as much as much importance as it deserves. To me, it's the first thing I look at with a vintage card. Registration, then centering, then corners and edges. And even surface. I mean, yes, registration is a surface thing, I guess, but maybe it isn't. I mean, surface to me is the condition of the surface. Are there scratches, dimples, creases, wrinkles, indents, divots, pits, all these different things? That's the condition of the surface. And then there's the print itself. Yeah. This car, and I don't think, like, you even look at the subgrades that Beckett puts on their slabs, there's nothing to address the print quality, the color, unless they mix it into the surface grade. And I don't know what PSA uses for subgrades because they don't tell you how they grade or let you know what's wrong with your card, but this one's obvious. So I think PSA and PWCC both missed the boat on this particular card. I've seen as many PSA 8s of this card as PWCC has, I would have to think, and this is definitely not deserving of the eye appeal rating. And I just went to the wrong card. Sorry, here we are. This one here. I'm like, what? $39,000 from 11. And I don't know, maybe PWCC can remove this above average eye appeal rating. I might not make the current owner happy, but I think a future owner needs to know that Jeremy Lee strongly disagrees with that assessment. All right, let's go to comments quickly here, guys, and see what you all think. Name one. So was there Reggie Leach up from that set too? Not sure name. Sorry, can't answer that. T-Dot lost out on a 65 Sawchuk Coca-Cola. Says, first thing I look at is Gretzky's face when bidding. This copy is a mutt. Yeah, I got to agree. Eric says the picture was taken in Hartford. T-Dot says Springfield. You guys argue amongst yourselves, please. T-Dot says this copy comes with 3D glasses. And okay, good. So that's good for comments. Thank you, guys. Let's go to the Topps copy now, because this is a different story. This copy is beautiful. I'm a big fan of the Gretzky Topps rookie, and I own a copy. Full disclosure, I own a copy of this. Now, did this get an eye appeal rating? Above average, top 30%. Let's see if I agree. First thing I notice is the N has this print defect right here. That bothers me. I'm not going to lie. That bothers me. We have a fisheye here. That doesn't bother me as much. It's not a perfect thing, but it doesn't bother me as much as this one. It's just not it's not in as important of a location. Top edge looks pretty good. Shows a little bit of wear, but you can't even really see it. I mean, that's nothing right there. I don't think that would offend me whatsoever. This little bit here, my eye catches it, but again, I'm zoomed right in. You zoom out, I don't think you notice that as much, but I can't deny that it's there. Coming down, like, look, it's a much clearer image. Wait till we see his legs. As I said, well, you do have a little bit. You have a little bit of orange coming up, but not like the O-Pee-Chee. Let's go to the oil drop. Seems to be almost perfectly placed. You have a series of print defects here. Like, that shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be there. That one does bother me. These two I don't love seeing. But if you look at the oil drop, you can see I don't know if you guys can see this. I can. The yellow plate is coming off the oil drop to the right a little bit. So the yellow plate isn't in perfect alignment. Yeah, I mean, this card is decent. Centering looks really good. Is there a bit of tilt? I'm having trouble assessing if there's a little bit of clockwise tilt. There might not be. Listen, I mean, it's a nice 9, I would say. Is it worthy of an eye appeal rating of top 30%? I'm not gonna sign off on that today. I'm just not gonna sign off on it right now. But I don't know that I've seen as many copies of the Topps Gretzky rookie in a mint 9 as PWCC has, because I haven't focused on that card as much as I focus on the O-Pee-Chee. So I'm not going to say anything about that because I'm not educated enough. But in any event, it's a rare card. PSA 9, I think there's like 100 and the population is about 110. And there's only like 2 graded higher. There's only 2 10s. Josh, come on in. Oh, and Troy's joined us. I see Troy in the background. So as soon as you're done talking about this card, Josh, we'll bring Troy on.
Well, I'm never going to stop talking now because I want all the spotlight on me. No, so a couple things that it really stick out to me on this card. First of all, it's great just to see how you look at these has been very informative and educational. So I've been appreciating just following along for the last few minutes. It is a pop of 128. What's interesting from a sales perspective is if you look at the last 4 sales, and I'm wondering if this just comes down to the all 128 different copies of this card, is it goes last 4 sales are 58,800, then 36,000, then 60,000, then 38,000. Right? So it seems to really bump. I mean, that's a big $30,000 or $20,000 swing almost in 4 consecutive sales. So to me, that is interesting, and I just don't know if it comes down to the intricacies of the specific copies that were for sale.
Yeah, I don't know either. But maybe it is. I mean, I'm gonna have to think that people are becoming more and more aware of eye appeal and looking deeper than just the grade on the slab. People are getting smarter. They're buying the card, not the grade so much. And I mean, this is probably an example that will sell right around here. I won't be surprised if this gets no more bids. It does have the Eye Appeal Award by PWCC, which again, I'm not signing off on that tonight. But if anything's going to get this to go higher than the data points that you just shared to us, it's probably going to be the Eye Appeal Award. And I don't know that that's worthy in this particular case. So I would, if those are the comps, and I mean, comps, are just part of the story. They're not the whole story, and not all comps are created equal. So I'm going to just leave this one with this piece of advice for the crowd, which is, proceed accordingly. And if it's for you, it's for you. Then I wish you luck, and I hope you enjoy owning the card. It's not a terrible copy by any means, but it has. I have a few concerns with it. All right, let's bring out the man, the myth, the legend, your partner, Troy Iverson. Welcome for the first time to Sports Cards Live and the PWCC weekly hockey auction coverage. Troy, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you fellas doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I mean, I'm guessing you talk to Josh all the time. So Josh, maybe I can just talk to Troy a little bit. How does that sound?
That sounds great. I have one question. Have you heard of Doug Harvey, Troy?
I have. I've heard of Doug Harvey. Okay,
so great. I'm just an idiot. Although Troy did in the very early episodes of our show, just because I can't be embarrassed alone, Troy, he did. We were doing a Norris candidates, and he did put Nikita Kucherov in as a Norris candidate. So
I put Kucherov there, and then it took me, I don't know, we probably went another 25 minutes before something in my head goes, hey, did you say Kucherov is a D-man? I'm like, uh-oh. So I had to correct myself. But yes, I did say that. So that's one of the things we always hold me to.
Right on. Well, hey, Troy, it's nice to have you. Listen, I mean, I listen to just about every episode of your podcast. So I feel like I know you, and it's nice. We did meet in person, didn't we?
Yeah, at the expo, the fall expo, we met.
Yeah. So it's not like we don't know each other, but it's great to have you, and thank you for loaning me your partner for these shows on Sunday nights. I know that you guys do a lot of work on Sundays, and I'm grateful for it. Keep it up. You guys do a great job. But hey, man, just welcome, and anything that you'd like to call out, anything you've heard us talk about yet tonight, or any cards in the auction, which we do have all the ones that you guys talked about on your pod teed up, but I just want to give the floor to you and let you make any comments you might have.
No, I'm just excited to be here. I love listening. I love learning. I'm glad you brought up the Harry Lumley. That was the one card I found in the vintage side that I just really loved the look of it. So I'm glad you guys took a deep dive on that. But no, I'm just glad to be here and glad to learn and chime in when I can.
All right. So Josh, why don't we do this? Why don't we continue as we've been doing? Let's look at some more of the cards that we had looked at. Some cards are sold now, so we're going to see some sold prices. And I'll just ask both of you, and I'll probably go to you first, Troy, and say, what do you think of this card? That sort of thing. Before we do, very quickly, T-Dot says the swings of the PSA 9 Topps Gretzky are the grades within the grades, which makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's perfect. We got Baz in the house. What's going on, Baz? Good to see you. Says again that Doug Harvey was Bobby Orr before Bobby Orr. I think I've said that. I think you must not have got yet to where I say that myself. Okay, let's go back to screen share here, fellas. And the first card is this PSA 7 1990 Pro Set Stanley Cup. It has sold now for $2,760. Now that's a big number, I believe. Not a unwarranted number, but I don't know that I've ever seen a Stanley Cup hologram lower than an 8 sell for this much money. So I'm happy to see it. It's numbered out of 5,000 on the back. One thing I can tell you, I do know this card pretty well, is this particular copy. If you are looking at one of these, now this one is no longer available, but this is off-centered. The cup is usually right dead centered on the card. This one's a little bit to the right. So I noticed that right away. You can just tell the gap between the letter P there and the letter T over there. But this card is more about the surface than anything else, because these are so often the surface are just hacked right up with scratches going in all sorts of directions. This one is pretty nice overall, I would say. And congrats to the winner who took that home for $2,760. I think we should just keep going here, guys, because I don't want to spend too much time on a card that is sold, where there are some cards that are still available to be bought, like this one here, which is sold for $70. I love this card. I was actually interested in it, but hey, time got away from me. And by the way, this isn't considered his rookie card, Nicholas Lidstrom. It is a Young Guns, but it's actually the second card he has in the set. This is from the high numbers. This is card number 587. He also has card number 26 in this set, which features him in his Swedish jersey, while this is his first Red Wings card in an Upper Deck product. And I do love this card actually more than the earlier one. Guys, Troy, I feel like you guys have probably talked about this at some point when a player has 2 cards in a set. Maybe you haven't. But what are your thoughts on this? Should this be a rookie card? Is it better than his rookie card because he's in a Detroit Red Wings uniform? How important is Nicholas Lidstrom? What do you want to say about this?
I will personally say I like the card better because he's in a Detroit Red Wings uniform. To me, I want the NHL jersey. It's just a personal preference. Love this card. We've talked about Lidstrom a lot, how he's one of those guys just so undervalued for his rookie card. And it could be the junk wax era. It could be all that stuff that goes into it. Absolutely love this card. I have a copy of it, not graded, just a raw version. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. It's got the Young Guns heritage on it, which I think is amazing. Yep. Josh, any comments from you on it?
It's an amazing card. I would prefer this one over the Swedish jersey card. We talk about, like Troy said, we talk about him all the time. We're a total gong show, though, because we actually, on tomorrow's episode, had a big segment, but I called him Nicholas Backstrom the whole time, so I just cut the thing.
Too
apparently,
funny.
I can't keep anyone straight.
Well, that's like, and I told you about this. I haven't mentioned this to Mitch yet, but when I was listening to Mitch's The Cup Masterclass on the Gong Show, at one point he's talking about the 07-08 set, and I have to make sure he goes, Caves and Tane. The Caves and Tane rookies instead of Taves and Kane. I don't know, Mitch, if you did that or not, but and I know it was just like a Freudian slip kind of thing, but it was kind of funny. But of course, you get a full pass on it, just a speech mistake, if you will. Here we have a 98 Finest double-sided Gretzky Hasek, PSA 9, pop 1 of 1, 3 graded higher. So it's funny. The pop is 1. There's more 10s and 9s. $480 this sold for. Listen, if I'm buying cards that have Gretzky on them, I want Gretzky to be on the front of the card. However, Dominic Hasek, to me, is the best goaltender of all time. So he might be the one time where I'm like, hey, Hasek on front. I'm okay with that. And I love the card, by the way, Troy. I forget if this was your or Josh's call out on the episode, but whoever's it was, please talk about why you like this card.
It was my call out, and I kind of cheated because I didn't know if I should actually call this a modern card or not, but I called it modern just for the segment. Absolutely love the dual, big image of Hasek, big image of Gretzky. I always said if I won this card, if I had this card, I would have to figure out a way to have a display that I could set it on. It would slowly rotate around so I could see both sides, because that's one thing about double-sided cards. Like, I personally would have Dominic Hasek because I'm a goalie guy and I love goalies. But I'd also want to see Gretzky every while, so I wouldn't want that thing to rotate around. But I just love, it's a mystery refractor. I love the name. I love the image. It's a really good picture. It looks really clean. The colors pop of it, and I love this card.
Did you buy it?
I did not buy it.
You did not buy it. Well, we do know that Adam Holgate won the Lidstrom. Goes on to say, glad I wasn't bidding. Well, I was thinking about it, Adam. So I'm glad you won it, man. And I'm glad that, hey, the fact that somebody watching won the card makes me very happy. Mitch says that I've spent way more than I thought I would in this auction. Well, share with us what you bought if you're willing to, Mitch. Would love to know. He goes on to say, I was hoping nobody would notice Tane and Caves.
Well, can I say in Mitch's defense real quick, Jeremy, that I think if they brought in someone to do a study on our show, I'm pretty sure everyone's IQ immediately goes down 30 points the second you go on our show. So it's completely understandable that Mitch made that mistake, because that's how we do it. That's how we roll.
And you started that off by saying in defense of Mitch, and I'll just say Mitch doesn't need any defense. That was he knows what they're called. He knows their names for sure. Toilet says any Hasek is good except the ones in Sens jerseys. Yeah. But sometimes like there's not a lot of Hasek stuff out there, so sometimes you got to take it. Let's see what comes up next here. I feel like a lot of these will be sold by now, but yep. So Patrice Bergeron, Black Diamond rookie, PSA 10, $300, pop 1 of 8. I mean, that's a steal. This card, compared to what his Young Gun sells for, which there's not only 8 Young Guns. This is a steal for a rookie card. Bergeron's so undervalued, and I don't use that term a lot, if ever, but Bergeron, I'll say, I believe, undervalued in our hobby. What do you think? Troy? Is Bergeron undervalued in general?
Oh, for sure, especially with his career and how he's still going. He's obviously got over 1,000 points. There's these guys that me and Josh talk about all the time. They're in this, like, I don't know what we call it, purgatory, or we can't understand. Like, Stamkos is one that comes to the top of my head real close. It's like we don't understand what is going on with these guys, and Bergeron definitely falls in that group.
Purgatory, yes, you guys. I'm familiar with all your different. You got the struggle bus. You've got, what do you call it? Who's hot? What's that?
That's who's hot. We don't have. We can't afford a special bus for them. Only the struggle bus people get their own bus.
Right. They need the extra help. All right, we have this. This was a redemption card. Yeah, it says right in the title. 2004 SP Authentic Redemption Alex Ovechkin, sold for $12.60. It's a PSA 9. I'm going to explain what happened with this card back then. If people don't remember, it was the lockout year. 04-05 was the lockout year. Yet everybody knew, including Upper Deck, that Alexander Ovechkin was the first pick overall. And they wanted to find a way to get him in the product to increase sales that year. So what they did is they created the card, but it was a redemption. You had to go through the redemption process. And then once he played a game, they then got the photo, made the card, and sent it out to the redemption holder. So it's kind of like a pre-rookie card. It's not I don't think it's considered a true rookie card. Actually, I know it isn't considered a true rookie card. It's like an XRC or a PRC, if there's such a thing. Maybe there should be. But that's what this is. And to me, it holds a special place. I mean, Upper Deck had to be very creative to figure out a way to get him in the set. And back then, redemptions weren't as running as rampant as they do today. So I think it's a cool card. Out of $399, his Upper Deck Ultimate Collection rookie card from the next year, the subsequent year, is out of $299, has an on-card auto, and is a much more desirable issue. But this is a really cool kind of almost an oddball type of card to add to your collection, or if you want to have a well-rounded Alexander Ovechkin early, rookie year collection, rookie card collection, I would add this without hesitation. Personally, what do you guys have any thoughts or comments on this card? Are you familiar with it? And there's a Crosby as well.
I was never seen this card before. Have you, Troy?
I have not. The The only thing I don't like is the picture is kind of small. Like I can see the little square of it. I wish it was bigger, but it's definitely a cool card, and I like it's numbered. It's got some prominence to it. I love the redemption story, how they had to sit and wait till they could play it to get a picture and put them in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, CC, this is funny. I just noticed this comment says, good evening. There's a 2004 Ovechkin rookie card in the auction. Never knew he had a rookie before 05. So CC, I've since seen your comment, or I spoke to it before. So hopefully that helped you understand what this card was all about. Continuing on, and Mitch says, I like this. Mitch says, I'll share what card I won after you guys talk about it. If it's one of the tabs you guys have open, I want to see if you think I overpaid. So yeah, we'll see, Mitch. So here's a Crosby Future Watch Auto, SP Authentic, one of my favorite cards in hockey cards as far as like modern go. I'm a big Future Watch Auto fan. That's my rookie card of choice for a hockey player. And I love the Crosby. I own a copy of this, of course. This sold for $6,900, BGS 9.5. One of the things I noticed about this copy when I looked at it was the autograph seems to be pretty weak to me. And this might explain why. Now, I don't know what recent comps are on this card, but I feel like it sold low. And, you know, I have to attribute that to this autograph, which is faded. It's got a bunch of lines through it. It's it's, you know, if any of you guys watching bought this card and didn't notice that, I have to say, I wish you would have noticed it, because I've seen a lot of these cards, and this is the worst autograph I've ever seen on this particular card. So, you know,
it's almost like another card was sitting on top of it when he was signing, and might have put one on top of it and slid it, and maybe that's what made all the lines and stuff. Yeah, I can see all those now that you talk about it.
That could be a part. That could definitely be something that scratched the surface and resulted in that. Another potential reason could be that this was on display on someone's windowsill or on a display and had sunlight on it. And then after the sunlight, you know, started to do its damage to the ink, it kind of disclosed or revealed some of the, you know, detail of the ink itself and where it didn't lay out properly. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more what you're talking about. I think there was some surface sort of something rubbed up against it, but it also looks to be sun damage. So this one kind of got it from both ends. It was probably, the autograph probably was weakened after it was graded, and we can see that pretty much just by the Beckett 10 autograph. But despite that, it's also just not the most beautiful version of Crosby's autograph that I've ever seen. I just don't love the autograph overall. But that said, someone just got into what is an amazing card for, I think, about half of what it should be worth if this was, you know, more mint to gem mint condition. So interesting. Let's keep on going. Next up is a Crosby Young Guns BGS 9.5, did $1,620. My question to you, Josh, on this one is just comps wise, how does this fare against other 9.5s? One thing to keep in mind with this question is always, because it's a 9.5, we know it's a BGS card, subgrades. There are several different versions of or combinations of subgrades on this card, and this one is what I think we would call mini gem mint, meaning it's the lowest possible because it's got 3 9.5s and a 9. If any of these 9.5s became a 9, this would be a 9 overall. So Josh, do you have any sort of data on how $1,620 compares to other recent sales?
It's a little bit less than the last sale. So on March 2nd, I've never heard that term mini gem, but I like it because I've always wondered, you know, you have True Gem and then True Gem Plus, True Gem Plus Plus. What do you call the minimum gem? That had sold for $1,838 US on March 2nd. So a little bit less than that.
Okay, so there you go. There we go on the Crosby BGS 9.5. Similarly, similar grade is his counterpart, the Ovechkin BGS 9.5. This one has a 10, 2 9.5s, and a 9. So this one has, you know, on a total the best possible score is 40. That's a black label. A 40 is a black label. If all 39.5s and only 39.5s are BGS 10 pristines, non-black labels. And then anything 39 can be a 9.5. So this is a 39. It's, you've got the corners as a 9. So you've got one of those. You can't have an 8.5 on any subgrade and still get a 9.5 in a BGS holder. So this is a bit better than a mini gem by 0.5. So in any event, sold for $2,340. Josh, are you grabbing any sort of comp data on how this one did tonight?
Well, there was a mini gem in February that sold for $4,275 US. So I would say this is a steal.
$4,275 for a 9.5 with 3 9.5s and a 9.
Now, sometimes Card Ladder post sales that haven't been paid for. So there was another one for $3,500, $3,600. So maybe those are more in the right line of comps. But yeah, and those are mini gems too. So regardless, it looks like this is a pretty good price for that. The buyer made a good buy tonight.
It does without inspecting the card. I mean, the grade that we're seeing is one thing. That was really one person's opinion on the day they graded that card. We could take a deeper dive. We're not going to, because the card is already over now. This card has sold, but it does seem like that's a good value. If this is properly graded, seems like great value for this card. And didn't he score 2 goals yesterday? Like, he's still playing well. So I'm surprised that today was the day to get a steal on an Ovechkin. And here's a PSA 10 that sold for $4,680. So $4,680 there. So exactly double what the BGS 9.5 sold for. And if you were to put these cards both beside each other and inspect them, is one really that much different? I mean, you look at this. I don't know if you guys noticed. I just did. I'm going to open these up for a second, and we're going to take a peek at something here, because there's definitely a centering issue with one of them. Now, if Beckett gave this copy a centering of a 9.5, so like almost perfect, I want to draw everybody's eyes to this edge right here on the glass. Okay, right there. Like, look at this edge from the red, from the top of the boards, the red and up. Look at that. And now look at this copy. That is not this right here. That is one of these dividers between the glass. This is not present on this copy here. Huh. Now, if this copy got a 10, I don't know, is this the right centering or is this the right centering? I don't know the answer. And maybe you can tell by coming down and doing some measurements, maybe from, between his name here to between here. I don't know the proper way to center this, or you're looking at like the gap between the top of the Upper Deck logo here and the side of it over here. That's a good indicator actually of centering. If this distance here is the same as this distance here, then the card is likely perfectly centered. If the distance here does not equal this distance, then it might be off. And you look at this one, seems to be maybe that this is a bit smaller than this, whereas this one seems to be, and it's hard. It's almost like a optical illusion, because you got the guy's face right there. Wouldn't you love to be that guy? Have your face right there on the Ovechkin rookie? But then you got this. So it's kind of hard. I don't know. It's almost an optical illusion, but maybe this is the better centering, and that's why I got the PSA 10. If that's
I
the
would
case,
think so,
then,
because the plate wouldn't have that divider in the plexiglass if it wasn't intended to be in the photo, right? It's just not going to magically appear in one card versus the next.
I know it. Yeah, that's a great comment, Josh. I know what you're saying. However, I had this issue with a big card that I bought on PWCC, and I picked it up from them at the Burbank show, and I was wondering I bought it as a PSA 5, okay, and I inspected the heck out of this thing, and I'm like, why is it a 5? Like, after I had it in hand, I happily bought it knowing it was graded a 5. I inspected it, and I can't figure out why it's graded a 5. And I've like held it under the light. I've looked at it under magnification. I've looked at all the different surfaces of the card. And then I started looking at the centering, and I realized, well, this thing's off-centered. And I compared it to other copies of the same card. And then I looked at the side that has way more real estate, and there's detail there that in with what you're saying shouldn't have been there. So it's very strange. I'll show you the card. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Let me unshare the screen for a moment. So this is my Jerry Rice 97 PMG red. I bought from PWCC. You can see it's graded a 5.
Yep.
The card, I don't know why it's not a 7 or better. It's just, it looks perfect. And then I looked at the centering, and I can tell, it's even, you can't tell for sure, but look at the distance between the metal logo there and the letter J to the edge there.
Oh,
it's a lot wider over here. I've also looked at other copies that have this pushed over that way. Yet up here, you see detail that is included, was included in the production of the card. So if I didn't go through this process, I wouldn't have been able to make the similar comment to, I wouldn't have been able to make these or even have that in my mind about this. This, you're saying that this wouldn't be there if it wasn't meant to be there. Therefore, it should have been in this copy. And that makes great logical sense to me. But then I ran into this issue here where I see the detail on a borderless card. So what do you think, Josh? Am I right, wrong?
I don't know. It's fast, but it's another reminder. And I think this is the perfect example of this too, where so many people right now, because he's such a commodity, and this is the biggest commodity card for Ovechkin. And I would guess, and this is just speculation, that 80% of people are just buying the number. They're not buying the card in the case because they're thinking, I got to get an OV PSA 10 so that when he breaks a goal record, I'll make my 30% and flip it for something else. And especially when you're spending $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a card, you should really go through the level of analysis that you've just taken us through, Jeremy, because there is a big difference between a lot of these cards. And it's not just inspecting this card, it's finding other PSA 10s and looking for similarities and differences. I guess that's my big takeaway. The last thing I'll say on this card in particular, and why I love this card, even though it's a commodity, is I think it's one of the better photos of a Young Guns ever. Just look at the look on his face, how determined he is in the pose. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And I think your 80% is probably pretty close to how many people are just really looking at the grade versus the card. I will say though, I think if you are doing that, I'm not going to be as critical if you're doing that with a modern card like this versus a vintage card. Vintage cards, look at the card, because there's such variation in production quality back then. Nowadays, it's mostly just centering that really it comes out of the pack not perfect. So look at that. Otherwise, you can probably trust the grade on a lot of these modern base cards. Troy, what do you think about all this? Anything pop into your mind as we're going through it?
No, I love the little tidbit about looking at the logo and kind of measuring the distances. And as you said, wouldn't it be awesome to be that guy in the corner? I started thinking, man, I need to figure out how to get my mug shot in the back of a card. But yeah, I'll repeat what Josh said. I also love the Capitals jersey in this one. I love that style. I think they used something similar for the retro designs for the Capitals. It was either this year, last year, something similar. But no, I love the card, and I do. It's interesting to hear you guys talk about the centering on this. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that when I first got into the hobby, I was one of those, just look at the number. What's the number? They know what they're doing. They're the experts. Once you start talking to people and getting more into it, no, you actually got to look at the thing and do your research and find other copies, talk to people, see what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I like, you talk about being this guy, and then you got a guy like Patrick Kane who's got 1 million of his own cards, and then he happens to sneak into Sylvain Turgeon's card back in the 97 Pinnacle or 96 Pinnacle, whatever set that was, where he's been spotted in the crowd. Pretty funny. Like as if you don't have enough cards of your own, you got to go jump on Sylvain Turgeon's card. Come on, Patrick. Okay, let's actually, before we go to the next card, which is this Patrick Waugh, which is sold. Oh, look at that. It jumped from $280 to $600 and is actually still in play, unless it's not. Did we just come in when I think this card is still in play. Look at that. Yep, still in play. Okay, before we go that, I'm going to go to a couple comments. First one I'll address, JP, good to see you, says, this discussion on centering is an exact map of logic I've used when trying to reconcile grades I've received on my graded cards. Difficult to determine consistency. Yes, agree. Goes on to say photo versus UD logo versus Young Gun stencil. So he's talking about the different attributes that you can look at when measuring centering. And then LGC says, Jeremy, can you please explain how tag determines centering? So I'm going to address this, but I'm going to start by saying I'm not in the grading operations. I'm not in the grading department. I'm not our lead. We have a lead grader who worked with the system. He does quality control with his team. So I don't know exactly how tag grades the cards. A lot of that is above my pay scale and very proprietary, I believe. But what I can tell you about how tag grades or assesses, grade centering, I don't think this question applies to cards with borders, right? LGC, you're not curious with borders. It's easy. It's measurements. It's actual precise measurements to 1,000th of an inch, I believe, or not. Yeah, 1,000th of an inch, 3 decimal places. I think we show 3 decimal places on the dig reports, but I might have been told we go to 4 or 5 even. It's an amazingly precise measurement. On non-bordered cards, it comes down to finding a logo or something else on the card that gives you a baseline, I guess, something to measure from. So that's I believe that's how we do it at tag. Again, I've never graded a card or been a part of the grading process. I've observed it and kind of seen how the machine captures the image and that sort of thing, but I'm just not I get asked a lot of questions, guys, about tag grading that I don't have answers to because I work remote and I'm not privy to everything going on. So, but sorry, I can't give you a better answer than that, LGC. But I can tell you that it's something that's very much, it's considered to be extremely important as far as getting it right. Back to this card now. And more bids on the Patrick Waugh Precious Metal Gems Red from 2012 Fleer Retro. So this card, there's only 100 of them made. And another bid up to $800. Pop one of 5 graded higher. It's a 7, which is a very fair grade. The one thing that sticks out to me on this card, though, is the print line. This line right here is not meant to be there. That is not meant to be there. And it shows up very clearly on the image. You don't really see it down here, but, and I'm surprised you don't, but I'm almost certain that is a print line. I mean, you have almost two different shades of red on the card. The nice thing is that it's a color match with his jersey. Has a bit of a, I don't know if that's part of his, it's definitely not his skate. His skate would be higher up. So that might be a little bit of a issue right there. But, these are rare. These are cards that honestly, the grade doesn't even matter. For most people, it's just about getting a copy and taking what you can get. So I'm not going to criticize the grade of 7. I think that's probably right. And this is a card that if you want a copy of this, you got to get it when you see it. I mean, it's not like there's none of them out there. If there were 100 made, but these cards are getting locked away pretty quick as some of the most important cards of the 2010s in the hobby. What do you think, Troy? I mean, you're a goalie guy. You know Patrick Waugh. 2 questions. How do you like the card? And number 2, how does Patrick Waugh rank all time?
So I actually love the card, and this is coming from a guy, I've said it on our show many times, I don't get the whole PMG thing. It's not my gig, but I do like this one with the red background. I think the color match is what's important to me. I don't really care. It's a PMG. Those don't do it for me. But I actually think this card looks really great, and I love the back picture too. I love it's almost like in the same pose. It looks like just in a different, the red jersey. And I love the old goalie equipment. He's got the blocker. I think it's his Fur. I can't remember what the brand was, Furland or something like that. You just don't see that very often. And I love the picture of the card. Love the back picture. For me, Waugh, obviously I grew up watching him. I love that he was a giant goalie. I loved he was aggressive. I love he wasn't afraid to fight. Those are the things I love about Patrick Waugh. Definitely in probably my top 3 of all time. And that's just because he was personal to me. I watched him. I loved, even when he coached, how fiery he was on the bench and getting in suspensions and arguing with players, refs. He's just one of those fiery guys that I really enjoyed watching.
Top three. So who are the other two?
So, well, see, I'm then don't get me on stats because I'm going off my personal.
Just your
number
opinion.
one. Number one.
Not skill. Like, just who are your top three goalies?
Number one, Pelle Lindbergh. My favorite card of all time is his rookie card. It's, to me, everything an 80s goalie should be. He's in the net, hunched over. It looks dingy, dark in the arena. He was my favorite goalie of all time, and obviously passed away from a car accident. And it's just that whole emotional that came with that. Because I was a little kid. It's like, what? My favorite goalie is no longer around. So that was just, he's by far my number one. Second one would probably be Dominik Hasek. For how he played and the save percentages he put up playing just wild, it almost was like he was out of control, but I think it was controlled chaos. And he never gave up on a puck. And obviously, I'm a goalie coach.
So those three guys, Lindbergh, Waugh, and Hasek are your top three goalies. I wasn't expecting to hear Lindbergh as a best of all time goalie. I'm not talking about your favorite card or the best career even. I'm just talking about who was the best goalie in his prime. Kind of, that's how I look at it. And I think, Hasek is for me number one. Number two is probably Patrick Waugh. And again, I'm not talking about Jacques Plante and even Ken Dryden. I didn't see these guys play.
Yeah, exactly.
Waugh, Hasek, and Brodeur, I think is the easy answer. But Brodeur just, I don't know. Brodeur is number three for me, even though he's got, the wins record and the shutouts record and all these things, like Stanley Cups. I mean, he's been great, but I'm a Hasek, Waugh, Brodeur guy in that order. Okay, guys.
And I could never defend Lindbergh's stats because he didn't play that long. But to me, I just loved him.
Josh?
So, a really interesting note about the sale is the highest sale of any graded copy of this card, irrespective of grade or grading company, was on November 13th of last year. It was a BGS 8.5 that sold for $456.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's a big jump.
It's probably that no one has seen one of these in so long. That's why, it's not always about the grade. It's about, first of all, and I understand Troy, and I've heard Troy say this before, doesn't get the PMG thing, and you don't have to. They're not for everybody. That's the beauty of the hobby, but they're for a lot of people, and it just comes down to brand equity. And sometimes it's like, okay, I think it's getting to the point where a lot of people say, okay, I want cards of these 20 players. I want their rookie card and I want their PMG, or I want their rookie card and I want a really cool insert. And if you are sort of someone who favors PMGs, well, here was your opportunity to get it. And two people went pretty hard to get it. And I have no issue with this card at all at this price, even with that print line. I think that's a print line. I'm wondering why we don't see it down here anywhere, unless we do. And I just didn't notice it the first time. I'm going to zoom in on that one more time, guys, and just see if we see something down here. I mean, there is something going on. Hold on. There is something going on. Yeah, you do see it. It's very faint, but you see it right there. Yeah? You see that?
Yeah. And I'm looking at the BGS 8.5. That was the previous record, and there is no difference in color throughout the card. So not every single one of these had that print defect.
Definitely a print line. So talking about goalies, couple comments. T-Dot asks about Brodeur. Yeah, we addressed that. T-Dot, Lindbergh's memorial card, which is, his rookie card is 1983 O-Pee-Chee. His memorial card is 85. The guy only played in the NHL for a couple of years. It was enough time for Troy to fall in love with him as a goalie. But sad story. Who knows what would have been. Mitch calls out Andrei Vasilevsky of the Tampa Bay Lightning, second among active playoff players and playoff wins, won 5 straight Stanley. Even if he won 5, he says if Vasilevsky, second among active players, won 5 straight Stanley Cups, he still wouldn't pass Patrick Waugh in playoff wins. Yeah, I think Vasilevsky's a great goalie, but I think he's a product of his team. He's played on a powerhouse for so long. Yeah, he can step up and save the game, but he doesn't need to do that as often as other goaltenders do. So I don't give him nearly as much credit as I think some people probably do. And this is going to sound weird, but there's nothing sexy about Andrei Vasilevsky. Like as a, and I don't mean sex appeal, I'm talking about as a player to collect. There, it's like Nikola Jokic in basketball. Yeah, the guy's the best player for the last 3 years, but it's weird. There's nothing sexy about collecting Nikola Jokic. It's a weird thing. I don't know what it is, but I don't know.
What Troy and I have talked about a lot recently is kind of the issue with the current goalies playing right now is they're all so streaky. They'll go on a 2-week run where they'll have a 1.7 goals against and a 0.94 save percentage and win every game. And then they'll be terrible 2 weeks later for 6 straight games. So there really isn't that kind of Dominik Hasek presence where almost goes above the standard deviation of what a goalie's supposed to do and kind of breaks the norm. And you just don't feel that presence in net from really anybody. Linus Ullmark this year would be probably the closest thing to that. But you look at the year he's having compared to every other year in his career, and this is a huge outlier. So it's hard to believe that he won't regress to the norm next year.
And, I could come back to that and say, but Linus Ullmark plays for the best team we've seen in like 20 years. However, you look at his stats, he's playing better than the rest of the team is. It's like his save percentage, his goals against are like unheard of this year. And I don't care. What that might be a product of is that the opposition are not getting quality scoring chances because the defense is so good there. Maybe that's a part of it, but even still, I mean, he's facing a lot of shots and he's saving what his save percentage is like in the high 920s or low 930s right now. It's stellar what Ullmark is doing. So, Troy, you're looking up something to. I feel like you're looking something up.
I looked up Ullmark. He's almost at 94% for it's 0.938 this year for his save percentage.
I mean, that's unheard of. That is like he's for sure Vezina winner at this point in time. And possibly Hart. I mean, it's going to be hard to get that away from Connor McDavid, but I think it would be possible. I'm going to go to some comments here, guys. T-Dot says, Pelle Lindbergh's memorial card and PSA 10 is one of my favorite cards that I own. Junk Wax Museum calls out Felix Potvin all day as a favorite goaltender. I mean, Felix Potvin played for the Toronto Maple Leafs and was a stud. And when you play for the Leafs and you are good, you get extra hobby. You get hobby over love, and he had some of that. Seb says there's a PMG Red Patrick Waugh BGS 8.5 for $1,100 OBO right now available on eBay if anyone's interested in that. Pelle Lindbergh crashed his Porsche 1985. Mitch says Vasilevsky basically eliminated my Panthers last year on his own. Toilet says he is a giant, seems to discount how good he is. Yeah, that's possibly a part of it. When you naturally cover that much net, you have an advantage, but you also have a bit more trouble covering the bottom of the net. So there might be, kind of pros and cons to that. Peep says Patrick was selling a handful of cards out of his own collection last year, some of which were noted as from his collection. That's very cool. And Ullmark scored a goal a few days ago. That's right. Yeah. He did, T-Dot. I have him in my Yahoo Fantasy. And would you believe it? Goals don't count for goaltenders in this one league I'm in.
Oh, no.
Like, come on. T-Dot says, I agree with Jeremy with over-loving for Potvin, but the cat was good. Yeah, for sure. Eric, Sexy Vasilevsky. A new nickname has been created this evening. You can run with that one, Eric. I'm good with it. All right, guys. So we look at it. I have 2 more cards to look at. Mitch is dying to know if either of them are cards that he bought tonight. So let's go to the next one, which is this one. Maybe this is it. I don't think this is up Mitch's alley, but maybe it is. I know you guys called out this card, 2013 Panini Prism. So second-year Prism, the gold Prism, numbered out of 10. Hockey gold Prisms were out of 10. Martin Brodeur. I mean, we were talking about him briefly, and listen, I'm not going to take anything away from Martin Brodeur. He's a legend. He's an absolute legend, an all-time great. He's a Mount Rushmore goaltender. $480 seems very light to me. I'll be honest. Seems very light. If this is your card, Mitch, I think you did very well. What do you guys talked about it on the Gong Show? Who'd like to kind of fill in your thoughts on this card?
Josh, why don't you go first? And I'm going to mention something about the card, like the picture that I just love.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take the comp perspective because this is crazy. So there's only been 2 prior sales of this card. Both were raw. In 2015, it first sold for $22. And then it next sold in 2018 for $36. So this, from a percentage gainer perspective, looking at a record sale, this would be the winner of the night. And I just think, I guess the last thing I'll mention is, and it's just more of a general statement on shiny gold cards. It's been a heck of a 6 months for shiny gold card values, where it seems like on the OPG side, the platinum side, you have the seismic golds, which are setting records almost every week right now. And golden treasures, even going to the 1-in-1. And just that, we as collectors seem to be infatuated with gold cards. And so not only is it a great card, is it an awesome photo, like Troy will talk about, but a card like this is I think, a heck of an investment.
How about you, Troy?
Yeah, can you do me a favor and zoom in on the front of it or click into it if you can?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me just open it up. I found this little hack. Do you want me to zoom in even more?
No, that's great. I just wanted, that's great. I love this for 2 reasons. The picture of him, basically playing a puck is what it looks like. One, he was known for that. He was a great puck player. I think he might have the most assists and maybe goals for a goalie in the NHL, but obviously, the trapezoid is basically due to Martin Brodeur and how he played the puck. He was so good at it that they put in a rule to stop him from going out and getting the puck and playing it. So I love that he's in this image. And also, look at his grip with his goalie glove. Goalies don't do that today. They turn their gloves around. In the position they use now is called the Turco grip, where Marty Turco kind of invented it, and they put their glove basically the other way over the top of it. And it gives them a lot more leverage. But I love this because it's old school. And he holds it how I held it when I played the puck when I was playing hockey.
Nice. I love it. I love the insight, Troy. There you go, guys. There's a nice nugget of info that you wouldn't have I didn't have any idea about the Turco grip or any of that. So really cool. It is a really cool image. And Mitch has let us know that it's not the card that he bought. He says but a couple guys agree here. T-Dot says, seems light, beautiful card. Mitch says Brodeur isn't the card, but agrees the sale is low. And he knows of a private sale of this Brodeur for higher than this sale. Yeah, I think this was light. Definitely think it was light. T-Dot says Marty Brodeur's mask was legendary. And then just sort of regarding Roberto Luongo, one of my favorite goalies to have watched, says he seems undervalued as a goalie. I agree. I think Luongo is an undervalued goalie, Jake. I'm definitely with you on that. Travis Johnstone, welcome to the show, says the Patrick Waugh is jersey numbered. There is an 8.5 fixed price for $12.50. Is it jersey numbered? I did not notice that. It's card number 33. That's what it says right there. Let's see if we can zoom in close enough and see what the actual serial number. I thought it was 50 something when I looked earlier. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like 55. It's really hard to see, but it looks like it's 55. So no, not a jersey numbered PMG. All right, so let's move past that to the last card. Mitch, is this the card? Did you buy? This might be the card Mitch bought. Is this the card, Mitch? Let us know. In any event, guys, 2014. This is labeled as the Cup Exquisite because it is an Exquisite branded card that was released in packs of the Cup. Leon Draisaitl, BGS 9 auto, which I don't really care about a 9 auto in that I think it's as good as a 10 auto in most cases. Pop 1 of 6, 2 graded higher. Let's take a peek. So the reason why the autograph only graded a 9 is simply because part of the ink went on to the hollow foil patch window border. Like, I don't know. I guess some of it is actually missing, almost as if it slipped. Like, yeah, part of the auto is just not present because the pen glided over the dip in the patch window. So that's interesting. Maybe I can get my head around that as a grade, but overall, I mean, I don't really care about that. It still looks pretty nice to me. What's more important is the beautiful patch, nice 3-color patch with looks like about 3 million breaks in it. I'm kidding, of course. We got all the stitching everywhere. Really nice patch. Only 29 copies made. Corners got an 8.5, edges a 9, centering and surface both a 9.5. Let's look at the corners for a moment. Top left. I mean, the light makes it hard to see. That corner might be a touch of white there, might not be. Top left corner. So that's definitely not perfect. So I can understand the grade on the corner. Sometimes I find that they undergrade corners and are too harsh on them in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. So overall, I think it's a pretty decent card. And what do you guys think though? You guys mentioned this on the Gongshow podcast, so I'll turn it over to you guys, whoever wants to go first.
Well, I think this is my card, so I'll comment first on it. And I just love it. To me, he's the number one underappreciated guy. I think of like, if he played for Montreal, where would he be in the hobby compared to, because he's got like 130 points or something like that this year already. And nobody talks about him because the other guy on the team has more, right? And he's just to me an amazing player. He just plays in a long shadow that is cast by McDavid, and I just appreciate the patch on this card so much that you kind of alluded to. The auto thing doesn't bother me. I get why it has a 9, but yeah, I don't know. It's just I love Exquisite. I love the player, love the patch. It's an amazing card, and I wish I owned it.
Yeah, he's definitely overshadowed in Edmonton by Connor McDavid, but like he sometimes he'll get 4 points and McDavid will have 1. Sometimes it's the other way around. He's definitely a superstar in his own right. You said 130 points. He's got. I don't know if you were exaggerating on purpose. Maybe he's on pace. He's on pace for 130.
That's
yeah, he's got 96 points right now. I just took a look because 130 kind of threw me, but he's on pace for 130, which is a huge number. And I think first of all, so Mitch did verify that is the card. Mitch bought this card today. Yeah, he got a hat trick yesterday. I recall. I mean, what did this sell for? $16.20. I think it's a steal, Mitch. Never mind a good price. I think it's a steal. I don't know comps, and to me, oftentimes I will trust my gut on a price more than I will trust the comps. Why? Because the comps are based on a series of other people's gut feelings on what they should bid up to. And who's got the strongest feeling? Well, they're going to probably win that auction because they're going to bid the highest and outbid the underbidders. But I will often just think my gut is going to be almost sometimes a better judge. At least I'm happy with that judgment of what my gut feels on the values of some cards. So with all that explanation out of the way, guys, I think that this is a steal. And Mitch makes a good argument here. He says, first year Exquisite hockey, probably the best RPA in the set is part of the Exquisite base set, meaning it's a true rookie. I consider this to be a true rookie. It's numbered 50 in the base set. He says, not sure if Beckett would consider this a true rookie. My response to that is, who cares? If Beckett thinks it is or isn't at this point, I don't think Beckett is in a position to be that authority anymore in the hobby. And nothing against the fine folks at Beckett, but the hobby's too big for one company to decide what a rookie card is and isn't, in my opinion. I think that's up to the collector, not Beckett. And so I'll leave that at that. But yeah, Mitch, I mean, $1,620. I don't know what comps are, and I don't even care what they are. If you can buy this card for $1,600 every day, I think it's a steal every day. Do you guys have information on comps?
Yeah, we do. So this is the first graded sale of this card. The last sale was for a raw copy, April of 2022, so just about a year ago, for $1,272 US.
$1,272 for a raw copy, and this is the first graded sale copy that we have. And you're using Card Ladder as your resource.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Card Ladder misses some sales here and there, But all that said, I mean, it's a good resource for sure. And I mean, yeah, I like the buy, Mitch. I really do like the buy. I think that, it's not like he's going to get moved ever. He might. Will he be playing with Connor McDavid? Will they play together for their whole career? If they do, I think that's going to actually help him a little bit. But in any event, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Mitch goes on to say the first 15 cards in the Exquisite base set that year are autos out of 25, which I also collect. This sale was barely higher than a Future Watch auto in a 9 grade. So the sale seems really low to me. Yeah, see that right there. When Mitch, that's a great point. Barely higher than a Future Watch auto. There's 999 Future Watch autos. There's 29 of this card, and it's got a piece of patch on it. But the patch is likely photo shoot, and not that that's a horrible thing. Player did still wear the jersey that it came from, but let's just confirm that. And I got to think that that's the case. Rookie photo shoot. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I had it right there, and then I clicked on the thing, and where'd it go? Rookie photo shoot right there. Yep. So, but it's a definitely a nice design element. And hey, most cup RPAs are photo shoots too. So it's not like we're apples to oranging that comparison. But in any event, Mitch, even just the fact there's only 29 of these, this might be his best rookie card. Like to me, it's a better rookie card than his cup RPA out of 249. Like this is out of 29. There's 10%, just under 10, just over 10%. How is this not as good as the cup RPA? What does that sell for nowadays? Mitch, you probably know. Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about this card right now.
Awesome.
T-Dot says Draisaitl is a Brett Hull type player. And Mitch says that raw sale for $12.72 last year was also a 2-color patch, which makes it even more of an argument for this card here. So, yeah, I think part of the discount on this card is the grade, the 9 not being a 9.5 and the 9 auto not being a 10. But sometimes that's where you can find some really good deals. And
last sale on the cup out of 249, sorry, Troy, was 7,000.
Yeah. Again, one of these cases where I think the hobby is just missing the boat on some things. My own personal opinion. CC says would be very interesting to see what Leon can do without McDavid, Curry to Gretzky. Which, yeah, CC, I was thinking that when I was saying those comments earlier about playing with McDavid it's that Curry Gretzky thing, and it didn't necessarily help Curry's cards, although it definitely helped his stats, which means he's got some card. His rookie card is it's worth something, his PSA 10 rookie card's worth a few $1,000s. So it's not like he's a slouch from a hobby perspective. He doesn't have many cards out there, many modern autos and patches and that, but I like this. Mitch says, I will fix the 9 auto grade with pliers. Yeah. Take it out of that prison.
You know where Draisaitl really got me, and I became a big fan was what was the playoff series that they got knocked out of last year? It was who were they playing? Colorado. Was it that series where he was basically on one leg and he would go out and play a shift and look amazing, play great, and then he would be coming off the ice and literally could barely make it to the bench every time, just dying, right? And then he sits on the bench for a minute and a half, and he's back on the ice playing great again. And then they're dragging him back to the bench. He was just such I hate using the term warrior.
That's hockey for you. We see a lot of memes about basketball and soccer players. What causes them to leave the game versus what hockey players will still stay in the game with in terms of injuries and getting banged up. It's pretty funny. Well, guys, that's the last card that we had pulled out to select. Let's see what's going on though on the main page of the auction. We started with 223 cards tonight. Well, 222 because one of them was a baseball card. I'm going to refresh and see if there are any that are still going at auction because we've dug pretty deep into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 cards. Oh, I deleted a couple. 21, 22, 23 cards altogether that we looked at. And Let's see if this is going to refresh for me. How many are still running? And I don't know. I'm going to close out. Well, let's see. Let's see if anything changed in these guys. So the Maurice Richard sold for $12,000, coming down from 21. Did you say, Josh, last time? So
yeah,
this
the exact
particular card took a pretty big pretty big hit. I would just simply say that it sold for too much last time. I think it's might be a bit over. One is this: the Tim Horton rookie card does $11,100. Great card, just a great card. Beautiful centering. The Lumley, one of your guys' favorite cards in the auction, does $5,640. Very nice. A record, I think it's a record. Maybe not though. Josh,
I think a 60.
You might have said the one sold for $6,000 back.
Yeah.
Yeah, the COVID era one, or the COVID sale.
Yeah. The Tim Horton, the second year Tim Horton PSA 8 does $2,010. Nice to see. The Doug Harvey, I really like this card. Oh, $750. Very cool. The Sawchuk PSA 7 with the water stain sells for $492. This is the Dryden PSA 9 with the eye appeal designation, does $6,300. Yeah, I'm okay with that. The Guy Lafleur PSA 7. Look at that. PSA 7 with the superior eye appeal rating. I have to think that this is a record for a PSA 7. Not sure. Josh, while you look at that, I'll go to the next card, but we'll come back to that. The Gretzky PSA 8 that I'm not a fan of does $13,200. So that's weak for an 8, but that's probably right. And that's still, it's probably right because a strong 8 will sell for more than this, I believe. So it looks like the buyers recognize that it's probably not worthy of the PWCC Eye Appeal Award in this case, and bid accordingly. So I'm happy to see that card didn't end too much higher. Here we go. This PSA 9 Gretzky Topps rookie does $43,200 from 36 or so last time. So we're kind of narrowing. We're in the middle there, Josh, from the last ones. Did you find something to talk about with respect to the Guy Lafleur?
All-time high on a PSA 7 is $1,895 from September of last year.
$1,895?
Yeah, $1,895. So just under $1,900.
Okay,
so a really good buy. And given the condition of this card, the superior eye appeal rating, I'd be pretty happy if I was a buyer.
Relative to that comp that we saw. Yeah. Do you have any other recent PSA 7 comps just to compare the same grade, even though not all the cards within those grades are created equal?
Oh, absolutely. And it is all over the place. The last sale was $584 on December 7th. Then the prior sale was that record sale of $1,900. Prior to that, it was $780, $720, $988, $1,450. So this is another one, kind of like we talked with the Gretzky, where it's the grade within the grade.
Right? Yeah. And I think that's just a good sign that there's such fluctuation for cards within the same grade. It just tells me that the hobby is more picky on what they're getting. The Bergeron does $300. This is we're back to the point where we saw what these ended at. There's the Ovechkin at $1,260, $6,900 there, $60. Yeah, we saw these all recently. Anyway, just want to make sure that they were done when we looked at them last time. So we're good. We're good. All right. Well, back to the main page here. Is anything still going? Nothing. So the auction for hockey is over. We looked at 23 or 24 of the cards. Yeah, that was fun, guy. I had a good time. Troy, it's come on. What's going on here? Let me get it. There we go. Troy, fun to have you on the show, man. Hope you've had a good time. Anything going on that you'd like to mention? Did you buy anything tonight in the auction?
I didn't buy anything. It's like I can't do more than one thing at a time. So trying to look at prices, and I did buy like some stuff. I don't know. I think 4 weeks ago, maybe, or a month ago, I bought a couple things, but nothing tonight, even though I bookmarked enough, and I just didn't get around to keep watching the bids and bidding.
Anyone else? Anybody else in the chat? Did you buy anything? I mean, Mitch, is that all you bought? The one card? Anybody else want to share? If we don't get any more comments in the next minute or so, we're going to wind this thing up and wish everybody a great week ahead. Josh, anything you'd like to address or anything you want to mention about the Gong Show? Anything coming up this week you'd like to let people know about?
Well, first of all, it was a great auction again. Always interesting cards. Learned a lot while being on the show, so that's always fun too. It's a big week for us. We have a new episode coming out tomorrow morning, and then our episodes drop Monday and Thursday. This Thursday, we had the opportunity to chat this weekend with Carvin Chung to kind of continue our, I guess, series on the Cup release, and it's going to be a 2-part interview with him that'll be this Thursday and the following Monday, where we get into really the origin of Exquisite, the Cup, and kind of all that. He's got a lot of amazing stories, and you helped us connect, so thank you very much for that, Jeremy.
Oh, I'm glad to hear. I know he'll be you guys. He's like a must-have for you, and I'm glad that I'm glad he's coming on, and I know your audience is going to love to hear from Carvin. He's a wealth of knowledge, maybe the biggest wealth of knowledge in hockey cards that is out there. Although Grant Sandground at Upper Deck could probably give him a run for his money too. He's been around for quite some time, doing what he does so well as well. So that's cool. I'm excited. I can't wait to listen to those. Even though I've talked to Carvin a ton, but you always pick up something new. So that's really cool. I look forward to those episodes. On the Sports Cards Live front, everybody, no Saturday episode next week. I have some obligations to attend to, but we'll be back next Sunday, I believe, right here to cover the PWCC weekly show again. We'll be doing a collectible live show next Sunday, almost with certainty. And you never know, maybe we'll do a Friday show for Sports Cards Live as well. Happy to announce, if you didn't catch it last night, that I brought on a new sponsor for Sports Cards Live. That is Veriswap. So Veriswap right there. And of course, Center Stage as well has been a nice, loyal sponsor of Sports Cards Live now for about a year. So with that, let's wrap it up, fellas. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, guys, thank you, Josh. Again, as always, this is, I think, episode 6 we've done this. Troy, great to have you. We'll have you back again. We're going to mix in a couple other people for special guests, but I'll definitely have you back, man. I love hanging out with you. To the chat, thank you guys all so much for being here, for questions and comments. You know, I appreciate it. Josh appreciates it. It's so much fun to have that discussion with all of you. Appreciate that. Mitch, you're going to join us as a special guest one of these Sundays coming up. Okay, with that, this episode is over. Goodbye. Good night. Have a great week.
Bye, guys.